All right, good afternoon, folks. So we've been talking about optimizers. Like I said, when we're dealing with certain neural networks, we run into challenges of what we call local minima, things like saddle points and things like that. So we have optimizers for that reason. And so what are we optimizing? I guess we got to answer that question as well. I mean, so we got to talk about we're optimizing what we call a loss function, which I can't go so deep into that, but that kind of frames the conversation. But in the last discussion, we hinted at things at different approaches, specifically related to batch size. And I do think that's a good place to start. A lot of the conversation as we're talking about, if I can use the TensorFlow terminology, compile and fitting models. Now, we said last time that we don't really talk about the batch size until we get to the fit phase. And actually, since we got a little more time, let's put a little more details in here. So this is a matrix. This is the data that we're inputting into the this process, and this is the quote unquote output. I think target values would probably be a good term for that. And then we get into things like batch size and epochs. And epochs is just how many times we're going to do this. And actually, this might have been a good time to do the PyTorch, because with the epochs, you have an actual for loop, so you can kind of see the way that works. But I say all this to say that when we're comparing the mini batches in terms of like gradient descent compared to a full batch gradient descent, we may have, let's say our batch size is 32, right, for a mini batch, right? And this may compare to a full batch, which we'll say is the whole data set, right? So what are some of the pros and cons of that? One of them has to do with what we call convergence, right? And it's good to have visualizations sometimes. This is a loss function that we talked about a little bit a few minutes ago. And these are the epochs that we talked about in our fit. So this can be going up to like 50. Let's say this is 2.5, right? So let's say we have a full batch, right? So when we're talking about convergence, we may have something for a full batch that kind of works like this. And if I had another color marker, I would use it. So I apologize that I do not. Maybe I do. Let's see if this works. So if this works, then we're good. So with mini batch, you'll see something like this. You'll see a much faster convergence. And like I said, there's pros and cons to both. And but I think you kind of get the picture. So I think we can stop here and maybe do some additional conversation about this later. We'll talk later. Peace.